And as we mark that 1 year since the tragedy at Michigan State, a number of new gun laws are now taking effect today, something advocates had hoped would really cut down on future gun violence here in the state and nationwide. Max Goldwasser breaking down how those laws could affect the future and really impact you moving forward.
After 2 school shootings in a 15-month span, there's been an increased push by state Democrats for gun reform. After the Oxford High School tragedy, Republicans in charge at the time rejected those efforts. But in the wake of the massacre at MSU, with Democrats now in power, similar bills were signed into law, and today those laws officially take effect. And they deal with universal background checks, safe storage requirements, extreme risk protection orders, commonly known as red flag laws, and limits on domestic abusers. 4 objectives with one main goal in mind: to address the increase in gun violence. We look below the surface to see how this sweeping reform might impact our state.
These are very reasonable. This is good legislation.
An improvement is all anyone wants to see when it comes to Michigan's gun violence rate. And Pat Miles, the former U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Michigan, believes these new laws will help get us there.
They're narrowly tailored, if you will, to address very specific problems that we have experienced, problems that we've seen repeatedly over the last few decades.
Starting with universal background checks, which look for felony convictions, commitments to mental institutions, and more.
Common sense, minimal restrictions on gun ownership. In fact, they're really not even a restriction as much as they are just a step in a process towards getting a firearm.
And now those firearms must be safely secured, which was not the case in the Oxford shooting. In fact, HealthyChildren.org says 4.6 million kids live in homes with unlocked loaded guns.
When gun violence is a leading cause of death among children, then we've got a problem. And so this legislation is an effort to fix that problem.
Red flag laws are not as black and white. Law enforcement officers, healthcare providers, family, and friends can now petition for a judge to take guns away from anyone who might cause harm to themselves or others.
If there is a history of violence, a history of personal protection orders being taken out that go back several months or years, then that is certainly going to be taken into account versus somebody who's never had a history of violence. The credibility of the person who's bringing the claim against this person, that's also going to be weighed by the judge as well.
A procedural guardrail that clinical psychologist Susan Silk says could have prevented the unfortunate tragedies that led to this law.
4 kids in Oxford and those 3 kids at MSU probably would be alive today if somebody had activated a red flag, if somebody had pulled a flag on those individuals. But it doesn't address the larger mental health issue.
The challenge, she says, is balancing people's civil rights while also protecting the public.
I would be willing to bet anything that there are no active shooter instances where there weren't lots and lots and lots of warning signs. The reverse, however, is not true, and that's what makes it so difficult. Lots of people make threats. Lots of people exhibit warning signs who never act on them.
Both Miles and Silk agree more can be done down the line, but these laws were a necessary first step to shift the narrative on gun violence.
If you would like to hear my full interview with Miles or Silk, or just see a full breakdown of all of these new laws, you can search for the story on fox17online.com. Here in studio, Max Goldwasser, Fox 17 News.
All right, thanks, Max. Well, you can scan the QR code right there on your screen to take a look at the full look of events scheduled on campus today, right in East Lansing and around the entire state. You can also find those details right on our website, fox17online.com. And we'll, of course, be in East Lansing throughout the day and throughout the morning at some of those remembrance events. So stick with us on air and online. But for now, in front of Spartan statue, I'm Elliot Grandia. Back to you guys.